Yes, ladies and gentlemen, come on in the room. I am your host, Khristian Dentley, and this is the good stuff. Y'all, there are literally two people that I can credit for, two human people, because of course, God get all the glory, amen. But there's two people that I can credit for shaping me musically. And this is no exaggeration. This is no cap. This is no sauce, as my good friend Marvin McQuitty used to say, no, hold the sauce. But there are two people that I credit with where I am and how I move musically. One is an artist by the name of Carmen. And if you don't know Carmen Licadello, then you missed out. Well, you can't see him live anymore because, he's no longer with us. He's in the presence of the Most High. Praise the Lord. But you got to go back and do your homework on Carmen. Carmen, yes, that's one. The second, and only because his name starts with a letter that comes after the letter C, is my man, Fred Hammond. These two people are literally responsible for me writing the way I write, singing the way I sing, moving the way that I move musically. And I am so honored to be friends with my man, Fred Hammond. Today, I got Fred on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Welcome, my dude. Fred Hammond is in the building, baby.
What up, Doc? What up?
What up, Doc?
Yeah, man.
Bro, do you understand? When that Carmen Commission and Christ Church Choir record came out, I was in heaven because it was two of my favorites. You shaped me, bro.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Carmen was big presence.
Absolutely.
He was a big influence on me, man. He's just the same. I had a lot of other influences too, but Carmen, to work with him, man, he was a big influence. And the thing about it was, I learned about who he was from the group that I was playing with. The Winans. They were friends with Carmen, and he loved them and they loved him and said, you gotta meet Carmen. They put me on everybody. Second chapter of Acts and this one, that, but they put me on Carmen. And I just was enamored with him, got a chance to work with him that time, and then out at his crib, me and Max Frank, it's a lot, man. It's good.
Bro, this is crazy. The fact that you and I are friends now, like legit, man. I don't think, first of all, I don't take it for granted, bro. I will never ever take for granted the access that I have, because that you so graciously gave to me. I can't remember what year it was, but Clint Brown was doing a record, and he wanted to get you on. I was producing the record. It was called Release, and he wanted to get you on the record. So I will never forget the day, bro. He was like, man, I think that Fred would do a great job on this song. I'm like, of course he would. Then dude texts me your number and it's like, call him. I could have, bro, understand. When I was in high school, my friends used to call me Ted Damon. Because this is the first time I ever said that out loud. It's called me Ted Damon because I was little Fred running around here like a lot of other people, man. But then to have this level of access and to work together and to write together, man, and to be friends and to come to the crib and jump in your pool, man, and just all eat the food and all, bro. We have been, we boys, man.
Yeah, man.
And I don't take that for granted, man. So I just wanted to first start off by saying I appreciate you, man. Everything that you represent. Not just to me, but, to the body, period, man, to both in the world, in the church, everywhere, bro. You are that dude, man. And I just wanted to say thank you first and foremost, because you deserve, man. You deserve every bit of love and grace and everything that people pour on you, bro. So what is it like carrying that? And you've been carrying that for a long time. You've been that dude for a long time. What is that like?
It's a blessing, man. I mean, I've just been at the point, I turned the corner a long time ago. I can't even tell if it's 20, 30 years. I don't know, where I just take every minute in. I pay attention to basically every minute, of my life, and just enjoy it. And to see the favor of God on me, to have friends like you, to have friends all over the world, and to come across like that, and I feel like I've been blessed to be a genuine person, and I love it, and I don't take it for granted, so, it's the grace of God, and I really appreciate it. Yeah, man. I love it.
Man, I love it. I absolutely love it, dude. So walk me through. There's a couple of people that I'm sure are watching this, man, and they've been watching your journey, and like to go from being the bass player for the Winans to literally having a group to then going to do the solo thing or whatever. I would imagine that a different you has to show up in each one of those spaces.
Yeah.
So walk me through the transitions from one to the other, and like how did that cause you? Where were the challenges and where were the growth? Where's the growth?
Well, man, the Winans, that was an amazing. I got a little piece of something in my eye, speck of.
That's all right, brother. It's all right. Feel what you feel, man.
No, it's really dust. It's real dust.
Feel what you feel, dog.
No, it's man, my journey started so much further than that. Like, to really get into the DNA of me. It started, man, probably when I was 5, 6 years old. When my mother would bring home albums, my father, Ray Hammond, and, we listened to music. We listened to Nancy Wilson and Little Stevie Wonder. I was there with Little Stevie Wonder.
Little Stevie.
Fingertip Stevie, And I listened to all sorts of music back then from, my next door neighbor. I'm 6, 7 years old listening to Jimi Hendrix, Sly Stone, and I'm comprehending it. Whatever the frequencies are in music, at that age, I'm comprehending it. Now, I'm not, what I mean by that, I don't mean by, I can write or anything. It resonates with me, and certain instruments. I grew up under Motown, and certain instruments resonated with me, certain singers, the Temptations, absolutely the Jackson 5. My mother brought that record home. She brought home a single, and I had a close and play. I don't know if you're too young to know about a close and play. Close and Play was a record, and it says it was by, I believe, K-Tail or Mudtail, and it said, you like magic, open and it stops, close it and it plays. It was Close and Play. It had a little record, it had a little needle on the inside when you close it, but you couldn't put an album on there. You can only put 45. And
Gotcha.
She brought this thing home, this little record home with these 5 guys on it. She said, look at these, listen to these. And I had never heard them. And it was the Jackson 5. I was enamored. And I heard people at school talking about it. King Elementary School in Mount Clemens. Hey, have you heard the Jackson 5? And I felt out of touch because I hadn't heard them on the radio. And I would go home and listen to it every day, and I hadn't heard them on the radio. My mother brought that single home where it was I Want You Back. And it was Michael in the front. He was facing this way. And then Marlon was facing this way, and then Jermaine was facing this way, and Jackie was facing Tito was facing, and Jackie was in the middle. And I was enamored by it. And I put that record on, ding, ding, ding. It's like, I want you back, ding, ding. And I sat there. Every day I came home, I just played that, and I played the B-side. I don't remember what the B-side was. It wasn't ABC. It was something on the B-side. But I played them both. And my mother heard me singing. I never was the guy that wanted to sing. I was very embarrassed, shy as a kid. I didn't want to sing in church. I wanted to sing in the tenor section. I was too shy. And she listened to me, and I mimicked Michael to the T because my voice was higher, and Jermaine. And I sang Jermaine's part. And she said, if you open your mouth, you can sing just like that boy. And I took the record upstairs and went in the closet and shut the door so she would never hear me sing again.
Whoa.
Yeah. And then I never forget that one day after school at King Elementary, we had about maybe 15 minutes left, and the teacher says, hey, I'm going to play this group. And she said, what y'all want to hear? Everybody said, Jackson 5. She said, well, why don't some people come up here and be in the Jackson 5? And so about 10 guys rushed up there, and I was like near the last one. I rushed up there too because, okay, cool, all my boys. George was up there. Milton was up there. Myron was up there. And Larry was up there. And And I jumped up there and two other people. So they said, well, it's more than five of y'all. Some of y'all got to sit down. And one of the girls said, her name was Regina. I'm not going to give last names. Her name was Regina. She said, Fred, you need to sit down. And right at the point where I was like, okay, kind of, just that. I stuck. And one of the other guys went and sat down. I guess he was scared. So they got up and they sang, I'll Be There. And we was doing steps, we was looking at each other and doing steps. And man, it was real cool. And George, his name was George Tyler. It was one of my best friends in school. He was the lead singer, and he had James Brown boots and everything. And he was singing just as high as Mike, singing Mike stuff. And then when it got to Jermaine's part, I just somewhere got the courage, and oh, I'll be there to comfort you, fill my world. And this room starts screaming. And then we became the Jackson 5 of King Elementary. We went on tour and everything.
What?
Yeah, we went on tour. We got out early. We got out early, 15 minutes to go to every class in the school to do that. So we went on the tour of the school. And then we had a meeting.
Coming to a classroom near you.
Listen, man, we was one day, me and George was out and Milton and the rest of it, we was out, and we was out riding our bikes, and we stopped at a playground, and we were sitting on swings, and George was saying that the principal is going to take us to Mount Clemens High. And we're going to have tuxedos and everything. And man, that scared me to death. And unfortunately, we moved away, me and my mother and my brothers. My father had died the year before, Ray Hammond. And it was September, and we were moving away to California, to Inglewood. And so I never got a chance to go to Mount Clemens High.
Dang.
That's where it starts. So, but I took in, Detroit was so rich with music. That's Motown, bro. And so I'm taking it all in. I'm listening, but I'm picking out parts. I like the singers and stuff like that. But I'm listening to Junior Walker and the All Stars. I'm listening to Edwin Starr. I'm listening to all of these different people, and I've got their 45, and I got their records, and my parents got their records, and I'm listening to them. But I'm picking out instruments, and I didn't know there was nothing special. I'm picking out instruments, and I'm hearing this bass, and I'm hearing the drums, and that was their drive, and I was like, man, I want some drums, But I also heard this bass line on everything. Man, Jameson. And I picked him out on everything, everything. I could hear him playing clear as day, but I still was just thinking about drums, and I was a guitar fanatic. I wanted to play electric guitar because in Detroit, porch bands was the thing. Every block had a porch band. And the way the houses were set up is that it was 2-family flats. So you go up one set of flat and it's a square porch, and then they had a porch on top of that. Well, the band was set up on the porch. I actually saw somebody doing it now. There's a porch house band now that's on Instagram. And it reminds me of that. And the bands and the drums, and everybody in the neighborhood would come and dance on the street. It's like a block party every evening. And you could hear them electric guitars and the drummer and man, I would just sit there enamored. We just ride our bike and I would just sit there and listen. But that's where I come from. The foundation of music, funk, R&B, jazz. My father loved Lou Rawls. My mother, he loved Lou Rawls, Nancy Wilson. So that's where my foundation started. So by the time I'm going through high school, and there was a lot of stuff going on in high school. One of my good friends in my class, his name was Stephen Boyd, and he ended up in this group called the Five Special. Ron Banks' little brother, and they had a big hit called "Why Leave Us Alone." Why leave us alone? Why leave us alone? Whoa. And then D Train. See, I got the D Train. Y'all, you up on?
Come on, Doc.
You up on D Train?
I'm not up on D Train, but I'm about to
You
be.
must get him. Oh my God, he was in the 10th, 11th grade. He was hot. He was a single artist, and I loved his music, but I loved him more when he said, "Who is your favorite artist?" And he said Hezekiah Walker. Or no, he didn't say Hezekiah. Hez
What?
wasn't out then. He said, my man from it wasn't Brooklyn Tab. It was another group out of Triborough, Mass. That's what he said. He said Triborough, Mass is my favorite group. I'm like a R&B singer, but if you hear "Keep On," keep on,
Yeah, I've
his
heard that.
voice was so instrumental, and it helped shape who I was. I heard a person with a raspy voice, and I've always had that heavy, raspy voice. So, that's my foundation, man. And we had big talent shows, and in Detroit high school talent shows were the amazing. We would go to Ford, and Mumford had dope ones, Cass Tech, and we would just go. And that's where I heard Derek Brinkley for the first time. Derek Brinkley came out and sang "Feelings" like it was church.
Come
He
on
wasn't
now.
saved, but he was going to church. He grew up in the church, but he wasn't saved. He was drunk when he sang "Feelings" that night, he said. And when I tell you, he tore that place down. It's like it felt like church. And Derek Brinkley sang his butt off. He's a pastor now. He's saved and loved the Lord and everything. But I'd say, Derek, man, when you dropped to your knees, they said, Fred, I didn't know where I was at. That was a mistake. But when I heard him, I always wanted to be involved with him. So if you think about it, Derek Brinkley was the first artist I had signed to Ty Scott Records.
What?
I'm not sure. The race ain't given to the matter.
Come on.
Derek Brinkley, from that day, and Derek would go, and man, he was just known. His whole family, the Brinkleys, were just a dope family, and it's a family you didn't mess with in school. They was, because there's a lot of families back there. But
Right.
the history of who I was, at that time, was shaped in the foundation of music. And I just wanted to be a part of it, and one of my best friends, Jeff, and this is all going somewhere. My best friend, Jeff Stanton, and he's one of my best friends to this doggone day. He's the one that took me under his wing. We're in the same grade. And he took me under his wing because he was like a prodigy, but he also knew how to read. He knew how to score. And, at 8th grade, 9th grade, he knew how to read music. He played guitar, bass, drums. And he told me, I'm going to play piano, man. I'm going to learn how to play piano. And he learned to play right in front of my eyes. He learned how to play. And he would take me over his house every day, and he would teach me, how to read. He would teach me music theory. And he'd be clapping, come on now, you know how to play by ear. You need to know what theory is. And so he said, here's your notes. If I clap this out, what is that? And there's this, that, another. What is a paradiddle? And he teach me paradiddles. You know what I'm saying? And he's teaching me all of this stuff. And we're going home, and every day for 3 years, that's what we did. And he taught me who Michael Franks was. He said, man, you got to listen to this guy, Michael Franks. Check it out. And there's one song, I hope it's you. I hope it's you. Everyone knows that. And one day he heard me singing it. I'm playing the bass, and I just started singing it. Just no problem. 10th grade. And I sang it, and he stopped me and said, man, you need to get off the bass and sing. I said, nah, man, I'm cool. I'm staying on bass forever. I don't want to sing. And he would get mad. Man, you need to sing. We have arguments. I don't want to sing. Then he taught me, he said, you need to listen to this guy. Now, I know he naked on that horse. He looked weird, but this dude plays every instrument. He plays every instrument. And he said, his name is Prince. It was him on the winged horse. I said, man, I'm looking at it like, really?
Nah, bro.
I'm good. We heard this. I think heard the first song was like For You or something. He did a cappella or something. It's something weird. And we followed Prince. He taught me so much of my stuff, which took me to my foundation was, and then me and Mitch, we was running around together in high school, and we sang in talent show. The last year we sang Everything Must Change in talent show, wiped them people out, wiped them out, and And then it took me to other groups called Saved. Me, Michael Williams, Mitchell Jones, Tony Horn, and a bunch of other little community group that was getting noticed, that got signed, it was getting signed by DJ Rogers.
Wow.
And our manager was Skippy Winans.
What?
Pop Winans was our manager. Yep. And the Winans had just got their deal.
Crazy.
And we was looking at that Pop like, man, Pop did that thing. He got them their deal. Man, he wanted to manage us. He thought we was great. And I ended up getting a audition as a bass player with, the Winans through the back channels because Marvin turned me down. He told me that, he turned me down. Somebody told me Michael Wright, one of my other best friends great friend, Mike E. He said, man, the bass player, he's kind of got to work. Plus he's got some other things going on. So, and nice guy, I knew B. And he said, man, they're going to be looking for another bass player. So I said, man, put my word in. He said, yeah, they hiring Greg Lockett right now. So Greg said, man, I work in the car industry. I can't trade that. I make good money a year, and so I can't go on tour, I can't go in the music business because the music they talking about, I make more. I said, fine, put me in. He said, okay, nah. He said, he said, call him. Marvin said, call him in the morning at 10 o'clock. Fred, don't be late. I said, man, please. I'm going to Henry Ford Community College. And 9:58, I'm secured off a phone booth in the student lounge. And next thing I know, 9:59, cha-cha-ding, plugging, 10 o'clock, boom. Hey, hello, Miss Winans. It was Vicky. Hey, Miss Vicky, how you doing? I was told to call Marvin today at 10 o'clock about the bass playing job. And said, okay, hold on a second. Peanut! That's what they call it. Peanut! Hey, this is that guy, Fred Hammond. You told him to call you. I heard you say, tell him to call me tomorrow, 10 o'clock. I said, okay, cool.
Wow.
So it wasn't a no.
It wasn't a no. It wasn't a no.
I went home, told my mom, and you told different people. Everybody knew, man, Fred might get the gig because I was a hot little bass player at that time. And next thing, I called him the next day. And same thing happened. Peanut! Tell him to call me tomorrow. It wasn't a no.
What?
But now I'm getting anxious. Like, okay, something is going on here, and the question is, and they was tearing Detroit up. It just came out the buzz for the Winans had finally made it. They was with Andre Crouch and Bill Maxwell, and the radios was eating them up. And I'm like, third day I called him, and Peanut, would you get on the phone and talk to this boy? Hold on a second. You told him to call you. He didn't call you. And so he gets on the phone. Hello. I say, hey, Marvin, this is Fred. You know me. Your father manages me. And he said, hey, listen to me. We going to go with the brother who labored with us. Okay? He been with us. And we're going to go with him, all right? Don't call me no more. But he's direct. He didn't mean no harm. He just, don't call me no more. Okay? All right? I appreciate it. So, disappointed, but I have an issue. I have a thing where I look at things in a different light. So I was disappointed, but I wasn't bitter or angry. The fact that I had the opportunity to make the call, to even be considered, I just appreciated them days. But man, I was told, went home, told my mom, and I wasn't down. I didn't, we still got saved. We still got, we got a record deal. DJ Rogers.
All is not lost.
DJ Rogers is loving our demo because you know what our demo was? I can see Jesus dealing in them. If God said it and believe you.
What?
DJ loved. He said, that dude's voice, man, I want to sign them right away. Hope Song Records on Benson, distributed by Benson Records.
Come on, Benson.
Oh, it wasn't the worst thing in the world. I just figured I was going to have that and this, but I'm like, okay, cool. But I got a record deal, so we're going to be all right. And so One day I saw BB and Daniel Winans out at Northland Mall. And I think BB worked at Flag Brothers Shoes, which is a hood shoe store for hood. And I went in there, or one of them, no, Tony Claxton, when somebody worked there, but I saw BB. I don't know if he worked there, he worked somewhere else. But he came around the corner. And if you know BB liked to put his hands
Yep.
on, like slap you in the chest. He said, "Hey,"
He does to this
you know,
day.
and at first he'd say, "Give me $1." He said, "Give me $1. I need gas." And I'm like, "No." No. And so Daniel and him, he said, "Hey, listen, the Winans got their group," and Daniel took over. He said, "The Winans got their group, but we're coming out. They're signing us, the Winans Part 2. It's me, BB, CC, Vicky, and Marvy Wright, and Michael Wright's sister." And he said, "We're about to do a concert with the Winans at Orchestra Hall. They're going to introduce us there, and then we're going to sign a deal. Andre's looking at us. The brothers are going to take us through." And so I'm like, it said, "So would you come and play and be our bass player?" I'm like, "Oh, bet. Yeah, that's fine."
Right.
We get to the house, and I've heard of Mike Brooks before, but he was there as a keyboard player. And I asked them, "You got a drummer?" They said something. I said, "Can I bring Mike Williams?" And he said, "Yeah, let's bring Mike Williams." So cool. So Michael Wright was playing guitar, but he was playing for both people. And it was me, Michael Brooks on keys, and Michael Williams. This is the way I remember it from 1980 something, 80s something, like literally whenever the Winans came out. And we were in there, and they said, "Let's start with the Winans." Now, the Winans house was packed. The doors was open. People was out on the porch. Yeah, they're getting ready to hear the Winans singing and this, that, and the other. And the Winans band was there. The house had to have 20 people in it. And so we're sitting there, and BB's teaching this song called "I Found the Answer," or this is one song. I just remember stuff that one of the songs went. He said, the Greeks study hard to be wise. The Jews but we preach Christ crucified to all who hear and believe. Oh yeah, honey, I called. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm hearing it for the first time, and my ear was phenomenal. So I'm listening. I'm not looking at nobody's hand, because I didn't tell you what the note was anyway. If I looked at it, I heard him, and Marvin was playing it on the piano, and Winans Part 2 was singing it, and I was on it. Mike Williams was on it, and I believe somehow, I don't know. It seemed like I remember Brooks being there. I just remember that. But so I played it, and then I went to this thing. Marvin went to this groove. He playing it, he grooving, and I went to this bass line. And they stopped. "What you doing?" And I said, "When did you do that?" I said, "I just came up with it." "So you play that every time? That's gonna be." And the Winans, they was doing their thing, and the BB and CC was like, "I've been kicking your band's butt." A lot of competition, laughing and joking. And after another song, we played something else, and I picked up real quick. Marvin looked at me and said, "Hey, you ain't slick."
Yeah.
And I said, "What you talking about?"
What you mean?
He said, "Play this. I feel like flying away." And before he can get to away, BB knocked Marvin out. "You ain't getting out there." And the house erupted. And they was laughing. And I had been studying that record. I was ready to go on the first time when you told me don't call you no more. So what if I had been all bitter and tripping out, and it's want to hear nothing? And no, I just kept waiting my turn. The next thing I know, it turned around for me, and they had a meeting that day. And the bass player from their bass player said, "Hey man, listen." He went up to Marvin and said, "I understand." And they called me down in the basement, and I became the Winans bass player.
Bro, okay, so much to unpack. We got to pause right here, because you just said a word, bro. You had the opportunity to be bitter when it didn't turn out the way that you wanted to.
Right.
But the fact that you kept your spirit right and your heart right actually was a platform that would put you in position later on.
Yes, sir.
To get the gig. I think a lot of people, we take stuff personal, bro.
Yeah, man.
I think that there's no Jesus said, don't trip. In this life, offenses will come.
Yeah.
You're going to have plenty opportunities to be offended. But I think that the people who rise, who are able to not be, to resist the temptation to be offended, have a better chance at what it is that they wanted coming to them.
That's right.
Just like in your example.
Yeah. You know, the issue is this. A lot of people think when you pass tests like that, you're passing a spiritual test, and then God says, okay, I can trust you now, and alakazam, boom. Then he said, because you passed it, you know, boom, and that's it. But really, because you pass it, it puts you in a frame of mind that'll allow you to continue on the path of positivity, you know, to be positive.
Woo!
You know what I'm saying? When you're negative and you're closing off, you know, I don't want to deal with them. And nah. So therefore, if you're real negative, you know, when BB and CC would come, BB and Daniel come up to me, y'all second, man. I want to be, I need to be on the first team. And I would have passed it up.
Right.
But because it was like, no offense, I mean, it was just a disappointment. But hey, man, listen, you know, I have this thing one of the things I've been blessed to do is, and as much as I can, I call do the math. And the math just simply means pay attention, man. Look at this. They have opportunity. And listen, it puts you in the same room. And one day, who knows? You might have to be. And I ended up playing for both groups that night, you know. Man. But I weighed the opportunity. And even though it was, you know, that wasn't happening for me, I was still in the group Saved with a record deal pending with DJ Rogers. So I can't get bitter. I still see positive. I see where God is at, and I'm okay with it. And I've learned from that day to keep them positive attitudes in the rooms that God takes me in. See, God is going to put us in rooms like He put you in a room, and your story. You know, I know your story. How this, that, and other, and next thing you know, you're in the room now. You're in the dopest room, you know, in the industry with the brothers. But we go from room to room based on our character and our outlook. And I call it doing the math. And that's what I've been able to do. I say, well, if it worked for that one, let me try this one over here. And the math be mathing. And when you don't pay attention to it, you stay in a cycle of repeat. You know, so being positive, staying away from bitterness in those rooms that are bigger than me. And every room that was bigger than me, I stayed in it. You know, and I paid attention. I was always paying attention to it. One time in the Winans, I was so attentive and I was so guarded for them that, and I tell you, they had managers, right? One of the managers wasn't doing so great at the time. I won't mention his name, but he just wasn't very, how do you say, aggressive or this, that, and other. And one time we were at the airport, Detroit Metro, and the brothers loved video games. Pac-Man. And they were, when I tell you them, some of the most competitive dudes against each other, they do go get the highest score, and they in there, man. And all of a sudden I'm looking, and the manager's having trouble getting tickets because the promoter didn't send the money. And we're at the gate, and I wanted to go out of town so bad. I wanted to go out of town. I mean, this is one of my first trips, and I wanted to go out of town. And we were talking. Well, no, it was about a year into it. And I just walked up to the counter, and I assisted the manager, and I heard him say some things that he was missing. And I said, oh, no. Try this and try this. And the person was there doing this, and they was on the phone with the promoter, and the promoter said, I sent the tickets, I paid for this, that, and other. And I would go back and report to the Winans, and they're like, okay, tell us what's up. You know, tell us what's going on. And we got 2 hours and flight leaving. And they was like, they'll handle it. And I was going back and forth. And I did something to help that situation and other situations. So the newest manager they had come in the room, he said, man, Marvin and him got on the phone. He said, we got something we want to do. We don't want you to play bass no more. And I was like, what? He said, we want you to road manage for the Winans. And I'm like, nah.
What?
Nah. I said, nah. She said, I said, why I got to get up to play? Because you need to road manage. I said, can I do both? And he said, no, it's going to be a full-time job. But man, bass playing is what it is. But road managing is where you want to be. And I said, nah, man, I passed.
Wow.
bass. I don't like managing. I just I want to play bass. If I can't do both of them, I have to. So if you get paid more money, I said. And at that time, I was making $50 a gig.
Yee.
And I think the road manager paid about $250 a gig.
Oh my God.
And as a 20-year-old,
what?
And I just said, nah, man. Because they weren't making a whole heap of money. You know what I'm saying? They were right around $3,500, $35 for this was before, but they was one of the highest paid in the industry. But $3,500 was a nice piece of change. But man, they got families, they got this. So I was offered that. And I said, man, the thought of not being able to play bass for them hurt my heart so bad. And I said, no. He said, man, you give up that much money for that? I said, I want to play bass. And I never complained, about that decision. And I played bass, and I stayed in that pocket as long as I could stay in that pocket, But that was my passion. I wasn't there for that. But I was still paying attention. When I was on the road with them, I still helped wherever they needed me to help. Wherever the manager saw something, I went there. I helped. But what I didn't know is I was in school. I was in school. And I'm listening. I'm sitting down, and they're taking me in rooms that I don't belong in, like rooms with Bill Maxwell and Alex Acuna at the Baked Potato and Andre Crouch and Ralph Carmichael. And I'm sitting there, and I'm in the room, and man, I'm like the Terminator. I'm picking I'm watching how stuff happens. I'm paying attention. And that was the beginning of my foundation in the music business, man. And they just taught me so much, which I took over to commission, And when I left the group Saved, the record deal fell apart. And I told Mitchell, I said, hey man, I'm going to go learn everything I can. And I'm coming back, and we're going to do our group, me and you. And that's what I did. And when I would come home, I would tell him where we went and all of this other stuff. And, and we had other little odd jobs. I came home, man, we worked at factories. We cleaned out JCPenney when it closed. We made $30 a day cleaning out big JCPenney's, putting stuff in semi-trucks. We worked at, I got us a gig at York Steakhouse at night in Northland, cleaning up York Steakhouse with a company. We'd be sitting down talking and talking about the group way before the group even got together. Cleaning up, mopping the floor at York Steakhouse when it was over from 11 to 7 a.m. every night.
Sheesh.
And we just talking, man, just that and other. But that's the foundation, man. That's the foundation, man,
Dude, this is a trip to me because all these years later, the same thing that you sold into the Winans, it's just in listening to listen to how your story went.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when we did Festival of Praise 4. I still got my little lanyard right over there. Fest 4. And the fellas, the Six was on the tour. We ended up getting off the tour. But I remember coming to you. Actually, I had a conversation with my wife because I was not willing to leave the room, bro.
Yeah.
I didn't want to leave the room because there was so much. I mean, like legit. There's so much that you can learn from behind the scenes because everybody wants to be the dude, man.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be the dude in the front that has their name on the ticker. Everybody wants to be the one whose name got the big print on the ticket. My thing is, if God blesses you to be in the room, there's so many things in this room for you to learn.
Yeah.
And so I remember coming up to you, was like, hey man, I can't remember what city we were in, but I was like, bro, after I had a conversation with my wife, I called her. I said, listen, babe, so there's basically 2 weeks left in the tour. Take Six is getting off the tour. But since I was going to be home anyway, since I was going to be gone anyway, I'm thinking about, because there's nobody here to do content, to capture content. Right. I remember having I had a little DJI Osmo. And every now and then when I would, you were doing something, I'd come down to the front and get my little shot and go on my little iPhone, iMovie and put something to send it to you or whatever. And I'm just wanting to serve. I don't care about having the mic. I don't care about, silhouettes and all this other kind of stuff, bro. I just want to First of all, because I felt like that was my way of honoring you for everything that you poured into me before we even knew each other. So lo and behold, I have a conversation with you, and I'm like, man, if it pleases you, good sir, if if could we, if I could stay on the road, bro, and film for you and create content in these shows, then you can have stuff to put on it, Facebook, Instagram, social media, whatever, blah blah blah. And you were like, bet, bro. I remember you making a phone call to tell somebody to bring cameras from Detroit that was coming up. Then you sent me to Best Buy to go get a camera. It was I think it was a Sony.
But we went and got that Sony A7.
The A7, right?
Yeah,
we got the A7.
We went to
We went and got the A7, and we got like a G Master 24 to 70 lens. Bro, you sat there on the side of the stage and you showed me the kind of shots that you want. You like, I like moving shots like this, keep them moving, like depth of field, zoom in on that, focus in on that, and I keep it moving. When you put that camera in my hand, something came alive in me.
Yeah, man.
I don't know if you know this to this day or not. That was the beginning of Dentley Boy Production House, my video production company. That's where it started.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was like I had never done that before. But for you to take the time to show me what I can do to help serve you and what you were doing.
Yep.
I wasn't willing. What am I gonna do? Just be home chilling?
Yeah.
Bro, I would rather stay out here in the sticks and figure out a way to do whatever I can do to help make your brand better.
Yeah, man.
And to this day, dude, that's the kind of sewing that you did. So it's no wonder that it pours back on you.
Man, it really does, because that is my gift. I see things in people and I put them in opportunities. I have a list. I don't know if it's a couple, 200 or 300. I don't know how many people it is from just seeing people who wanted to be involved, like yourself, or a Big Tom, or a Noel, or even a Marvin Sapp, Israel Houghton. And I have that gift. One of my gifts is giving and helping people get wherever they need to go. And I enjoy doing that. A lot of times, and there's more people that pass the opportunity up, because like you were saying, like with the brothers, I don't think their thing was more so, and like you said, you didn't either, but their thing wasn't about name up and lights and doing this and another. It's sometimes people have this thing of, I sing, that's what I do. I sing.
Right.
There's no need for me to sing. There's no need for me to be here. I need to be going to do what I do. This is what I know. And this is what the difference is. But then your thing was, I sing, but I also want to learn. Because that was me, man. Listen, bro. Listen to you. You don't hear me. Is while I was with the Winans, I was learning. I was paying attention. That is my gift. My gift is that, man, I pay attention to the room, right? And one day I was with Thomas Whitfield, and he had just signed his deal, his record deal with Benson, and Detroit was buzzing. So it was Earl Wright. It was his band was Earl Wright, Earl J. Wright, man, the man, right? I'm saying, Kern Leonard Brantley on bass, another brother named Gino Parker was on drums. And another brother was, it was some other people, Eric Bryce.
Come on, Bryce.
And we were all in this little studio called RMJ, where we recorded the first record for commission. But Thomas was doing his record and getting ready to produce Vanessa Bell's first record. Now, I also played bass for Vanessa Bell. I was in her band. So, I was getting around, and I was in there, and I went up to the studio, and I saw Thomas in the room, and all my boys was in the room, but I wasn't anything, man. I was just a guy hoping to get a chance. He say, "Hey, Fred, why don't you try to play bass on this?" But Kern was the dude. So I just wanted to be in the room, and that's what I was. I was a fly on the wall. I paid attention. So what I did was, my desire was not to give my opinion. Even though I had some in my head, like, they should do this, or maybe they should try this.
Uh-oh.
But man, I'm like, that's suicide. if you come in this room. And it also says that I don't believe I'm going to have a room of my own later. I'm there
Woo.
to learn. So what I did was I kept my mouth shut, and they kept involving me. And Thomas would every now, hey man, you all right over there? And I'm like, fine, because I took a garbage can, one of them little gray garbage cans. I took it outside. I washed it out, and I made sure that the ring was clean. It was just a little gray garbage can, metal. And I washed it out, and I brought it back in with a nobody looking. I said, I'm gonna take the garbage out. And I brought it back in with nobody looking, and I turned it upside down and used it as a seat. And I was tucked away between the effects rack and the tape machine. And I just asked, Lord, don't let them kick me out. That was my prayer. I had two prayers that day. I said, don't let them kick me out. This is the best. This is the room, bro. I'm in the room with the maestro. And I'm watching them make this music, man. And I sat there. And I said, my next prayer was, I'm watching the maestro work. And I'm watching him do some stuff. And I asked the Lord, teach me how he thinks. I didn't ask for an opportunity to play on the record. I said, teach me how he thinks. Because I'm watching the maestro come up with something. And they were just enjoying stuff and eating food and the camaraderie. I said, one day I want to have the camaraderie and be in the studio. I want to be a studio musician one day, but I just sat there. And one time he said, they said they was hungry and they didn't have nobody to go get no food. And I said, I'll get it. I'll go get it.
Come on, Doc.
I get it. And sure enough, he said, okay, cool. So he handed me, about $30, right? And told him what to get. I went down to Church's Chicken. I jumped in the line. I told him, make it hot, this, that, and the other. And I was broke. And it came up to like $40-something. I was broke, bro. I did not see myself going back to ask Thomas Whitfield for $10 more because I felt like it was personal. Like I failed. And I should have been able to do that. But man, somewhere I went to a friend's house. I said, man, I need to borrow $10. He said, for what? I said, I'll pay it back to you. Man, you don't got $10. I didn't have $10. He didn't know why I was going to pay it back. I don't even know if I did pay it back. I think I probably over time paid him $2 pieces. But I went to this dude's house. I said, hey, man, listen. So you give me $10. And I went back and they made me a fresh batch. And I brought it back and I set it down. And they all ate. Said, man, thanks a lot. Nobody knew the wiser. Wasn't no change. And they didn't even have me for change. They was probably, he thought, you keep the rest for gas. I said, wasn't no gas. But I was not coming back because I felt like I would be kicked out the room if I failed and told him you didn't give me enough money. I couldn't fathom that. And I sat there and I watched the rest of that session. And I would see Whitfield. He would be playing, Earl would be in there playing, or the band would be in there laying the rhythm tracks, and it's 2:00 in the morning, and Whitfield laid out. And he just out of go, hey, who played that C sharp? Don't do that. And they played it back, and sure enough, somebody played the C sharp, and the bro was like, yo, snap. And I'm sitting off in the corner like, wow, this is the maestro. And when I heard him play, a tuned piano mic'd, and Rick Kerr was the engineer, and I heard it coming through the speakers and how he just played. He would just sit in there and warm up for 20 minutes and just play. And we would just be sitting there like, this is like, it's like we're in heaven. Like, this is like God allowing us to, magic is the best word I could come up with as far as like, it was just the feeling of it. And then he was playing, he was doing the keyboard, he's doing this, that, and other. And I never forget, he sang, I gave my all at Calvary for he gave. Woo! And he got the lights down, and I'm standing, everybody's standing around listening. Hey, hey, everything he had, Jesus.
Yes.
Hey, and I'm watching it go down, and man, my body is, and I was in the back just saying, just taking notes, mental snapshots. And that's the foundation. So I'm Fred Hammond, not because I got a dope voice. My voice is different. I'm Fred Hammond not because I was a good bass player. I'm Fred Hammond not because I was a good, musician or drum programmer or producer. I'm Fred Hammond because I paid attention to the room. So when I
Sir.
pay attention to the room like you, it was easy. Like you took a position that I needed and didn't know I needed, but because you were doing it all the time and showing it to me, like, you know, hey man, what you doing? I'm like, man, you know, I was getting into production and I want to do my own feelings.
Yep.
And so you showing me this. And I'm like, man, he got the thing. And I never forget, man, we went and bought that A7. I spent $4,000 and gave the camera to you. Said,
and you gave it to me.
And you would go in and edit it and this, that, and the other. And we had a great time. And now look, you doing your thing. You're doing your thing.
Bro, but you pay attention to the room.
Pay attention.
You gotta pay attention to the room.